Well, I know it's been a while, folks, but I'm glad you are here. And if this is your first time, welcome. My name is Keith Dent, and I am the host of Black Men Speak, one of the best podcasts geared towards Black men. And my tagline is that we highlight ordinary Black men doing extraordinary things. And I know most podcasters kind of use the summer to broadcast older shows and level set to prepare for the end of the year. And I kind of started doing that a little earlier than I wanted to. But when I had the opportunity to interview this brother, and I would say he's definitely one of our leaders in the community, I couldn't pass this up. So today I'm talking with Kamal Ben Ali. He's an entrepreneur, community leader, and motivational speaker committed to elevating lives through advocacy and empowerment. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with DC culture, he is the son of the founders of Ben's Chili Bowl. Now, it's a legendary, and I mean legendary DC landmark that has nourished bodies and built community for more than 6 decades. And I have had the pleasure of that nourishment myself, probably later in life, but I've had it nonetheless. And it's a true treasure, not only in the DC area, but the Black community. But, and my guest today, Ben, has been in leadership at the family business for over 4 decades. But he is satisfying a different type of hunger these days. He's helping Black men to balance ambition with unhealed trauma, generational expectations, and unrealized potential. That is truly a mouthful just in itself. And he has a new book coming out. The name of the book is Ascend, the Black Men's Guide to Elevation, Success, and Purpose. So I'm going to bring him in, and we're going to have a very in-depth, thorough conversation. I'm really looking forward to it. And we may talk about a little bit about about the chili and everything. Maybe I'll get the secret sauce. Who knows? But Ben, welcome to the show.
Hey Keith, how are you, man? Thank you so much for having me, and I love the podcast. Speaking to Black men.
Thank you. It's great to be here. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's start with the title. Ascend, the Black Men's Guide to Elevation, Success, and Purpose. Why did you feel compelled to kind of write this book and start at this time?
At my 60th birthday, these mile mark times in your life. And I said, what do I have left on the plate? I've been running Ben's Chili Bowl for 40 years. I said, what else do I have to give before I leave this earth? What else do I want to accomplish? What else do I want to do? And what I came up with, I started a journey of self-discovery to find my new purpose. And I really settled on this idea of helping young Black men. I've just seen too much pain, too much suffering in our community. I see too many of my brothers not living their best lives. And I just think it's no reason for that. There's no reason we can't all be living our absolute best lives. God has given us something really special inside of us. And I said, you know what? It's not their fault if nobody told them. I said, I had great role models in my life. I had a wonderful dad who taught me a lot of these principles. And it's my turn now to pass them on and to share them with brothers so that they can begin that journey of self-discovery and self-awareness.
Gotcha. And I understand that. So before we kind of drill down and talk about the book, you and your family have been a fixture in DC for 6 decades now. So this may be a complex question, but really briefly, how have things changed for Black men and boys since you've been in DC? I mean, in your opinion, have things gotten better, the same, or has it gotten worse?
Yeah, great question. And, just us as a people, right? Going back to the 1958 when mom and dad opened the restaurant. I wasn't born until 62, but I'm going to speak from the time we opened the restaurant in 1958. And even before that, because U Street had a fabulous history for African Americans going back to 1900. I mean, Howard University was founded in 1867. And we have thousands and thousands of African Americans coming from the South to the North for better jobs and opportunities. And what better place than Washington, D.C., which had the federal government and had lots of arts, history, and culture to support our people. And so on U Street, we called it Black Broadway when I got there, when mom and dad opened. But before that, it was like a Black Wall Street. You had over 250 businesses, right, on U Street. And now, why did you have that? You had that due to segregation, right? Due to segregation, you couldn't go out to the other areas of the community. And so we were all there all together. And when we say together, we're talking about blue collar and white collar side by side, right? Our doctors and lawyers, et cetera, go right there with our carpenters and plumbers and trash men. And so we had everything right there because you had to. And also, what did that make for? That made the business community stronger because the dollar circulated in our community, and as opposed to now. And so when you talk about that history and you talk about back then in the civil rights movement, right? Certainly we've come far from a civil rights perspective that our ancestors fought for, but in other ways due to that, actually, so a couple of things happened in our community. We had drugs enter the community, but that integration and us assimilating with all the other, races, et cetera, especially, in the community led to, our not circulating our dollars, our not sticking together. And so you have a few of us doing very well and everybody else suffering. So, that's so I would say today, are we doing better? Is our families doing better, or do we have more divorce? Right? Or is our health, so in many, many areas, we are not doing better. We are actually doing worse. As the crime rate and the murder rate, better or worse? These statistics are much worse. So I would say that in a lot of ways we're doing worse, despite the gains and despite a small percentage of African Americans doing wonderfully. A lot of people are being left behind, and it's that Black racial wealth gap. It's a racial wealth gap that's gone on in this country and in our city.
Okay, yeah. It's it's very complex, and there's just so much going on. We have on the outside looking in, we probably could say, "Oh, we're doing better," but when you really get behind some of the intricate numbers, which we will touch upon, I'll touch upon a little later, we're probably not doing as well as we should be. So let's get started. I wanted to start off by reading kind of the first entry into your book, if that's okay.
Okay.
In the first chapter, you talk about life weighs heavy, the baggage we carry. So it started. The book starts this way: growing up in Washington D.C., I witnessed life's weight crush dreams before they had a chance to take flight. Imagine teenagers burdened with more pain and trauma than many adults face in a lifetime. Drugs ravage the streets and families, heroin, love boat, crack, and synthetic substances that turn good people into shadows of themselves. But it wasn't the drugs. Violence shaped daily life, both in public and behind closed doors. Picture witnessing more brutality than anyone should, with anger brewing until it finally erupts. I've seen young men unleash rage so intense that 5 would stomp one long after the fight ended. That rage wasn't about the fight, it was deep rooted pain searching for an outlet, a raw expression of powerlessness and invisibility. Ooh, that's a what a way to really start the book.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you the question, what has been one of the heaviest bags you've carried, and how did you begin to release it?
Yeah. Well, again, going back to my purpose of starting this book, seeing those, I had 3 young men killed who worked for Ben's Chili Bowl from senseless gun violence. I had a cousin killed, shot in the head at First and Kennedy Streets Northwest. Again, gun violence. And so having experienced this pain firsthand, seeing brothers taken from us unnecessarily, that's been a huge thing for me to get over. And again, in life, you have so many things that happen to us all the time. So for me, those types, that was a real inspiration in me writing this book, seeing the pain that my people have gone through. And it's every day, man. If you're Black, if you're African American, and you're living in Washington, D.C., you're experiencing it. You're touched by it. You've got a relative, you've got a cousin, a friend, a next door neighbor, an employee of somebody who's on drugs. The weed is out of hand. The depression, the mental illness, the opioid use. You experience it if you've grown up in this city. And I believe in every major city that has African Americans in it. So again, this is the pain that I've suffered through and had to break through.
Wow, that's pretty powerful, especially when you're seeing young men that you're employing, and then they are just snuffed out for no apparent reason. That's got to be pretty hard, to kind of have to
And
deal with.
we've gotten used to it. That's the pain. The sad part about a lot of us in the community is we act like it's not a big deal anymore. It's happened so frequently. It's happened so much that we've gotten a little numb to it. And so, when you look at, as opposed to, for instance, when Black Lives Matter movement was going on, what was the driver for Black Lives Matter movement? You had white police killing African Americans on camera, right? And we are highly upset when we see that, as we should be. But we should be equally upset at the number of African Americans killed by African Americans, right? And opioid use,
right,
and addiction. Right. We should be equally upset or more upset, but we get numb to that. And so, we can't be numb to that. We have to come back to our humanity. We have to come back to our families. We have to come back to our true selves and fight against that.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, and that's a big challenge. And so is that, you talk about facing the truth, and is that kind of what you're talking about? That what the sort of the truth that we need to kind of face as a community?
So my approach to this book is that I can't solve all the world's problems. I mean, there are lots and lots of issues that we have to address, but each person has the ability to solve their own problems, heal themselves, and live their best life. And so my approach to this book is, if I can help individuals heal themselves and get on the right path to changing their mindset and living their best life, then in turn, they're going to go out and live their purpose and help solve all these other problems. So my approach is really from an individual perspective.
Okay.
Everybody can heal themselves. Everybody can grow themselves, develop themselves. Everybody can have this wonderful life. And in that natural undertaking, someone's going to find a lawyer. Someone's going to be a lawyer. Someone's going to be in law enforcement. We're going to find our purposes and solve all the problems. But we have to first solve our own problems, get our own minds right, and be able to do that job.
Okay. And you did a lot of mentoring, I guess, in your as part of your, before the 60 years. So the 60th birthday, you did a lot of mentoring. So what was some of the and I'm sure that was more one-on-one. Can you give me one or two examples where you saw them change their lives around?
Yeah, absolutely. Mom and dad have mentored people for years. I've watched it when I was a little kid. I've seen them turn lots of kids in the neighborhood, lots of staff members, team members, lots of mom councils, just customers coming in the door. We've always had that spirit as a family, in different styles. And so we've, just being that positive force in someone's life, just giving them hope, whether it's a hug, whether it's food, believing in people, believing in ourselves, and believing in God is just the basic foundational way to do it. What I've written here, Keith, is a guidebook, a step-by-step playbook for how each individual can do it. And so chapter 1, the Let Go, Let God, is based on that healing, because before you're able to take a step in the right direction, if I tell you, hey, here's a map to California, here's the road to go on, go forward. But if you're chained, to a big tree behind you, and that tree is the past, That tree is your hurt. That tree is your pain. That tree is whatever you've gone through. It's legitimate stuff, right? But you can't, if you're still talking about that and chained to that mentally, you can't take one step forward. So the first thing we have to do is heal. And that's why it's chapter number 1. That's why the book starts off that way, because the first thing we have to do is there's so many people stuck. They're stuck. You could give them all the job training you want. You can give them, some money. They are stuck mentally. They're stuck emotionally. And so how do you get unstuck? The first step is healing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm going to definitely hold on to that thought, because I do have comments about that. Oh, well, no, I'll touch upon it now, because I think our communities, though, are kind of stuck in, and I would say, you mentioned earlier that we're almost numb to the things that happen to us, and then we do a lot of victim blaming too. So I think, and that would probably be the path of getting unstuck, is one, taking more ownership of, or at least being able to name some of the challenges that we even have. There's like, oh, I am stuck, whereby we're like, nah, nah, ain't nothing wrong with me, I'm good. So how do we get people to just even take the first step and acknowledge that that is even the case?
Yeah, well, I start off some of the talks and I say, who's here? Who's happy with the life they're living? Who's totally happy? Who's living their best life? If everything's going great for you, you're where you want to be financially. You're where you want to be with your home and family. You're where you want to be, with your career. If you're where you want to be and you're doing great and you're on the right path, I'm not here for you. I'm happy for you. You could come teach this class. But most people say, no, I'm not happy. I'm stuck. I need work, whatever. So the first is to admit where we are. We can't know where we're going or choose where we're going to go unless we first start with where we are. So it's that honest self-assessment. It's the honest self-assessment of what's holding you back. So if I say, what's
they
holding
usually
you back?
They usually do acknowledge that they know that they're stuck.
Well, you know by your results. If your results are stuck, then you're stuck, right? You're stuck somewhere along the way. Otherwise, your results would be where you wanted them to be. And so when you ask them, what is the problem? Why aren't you living your best life? Why don't you have all the money, the cars, the whatever it is you want, your heart's desire? Why aren't you living in your purpose? Why aren't you happily, in a great relationship with, great relationships with your kids, in great health? Why aren't you these things? And that's where the answer has to be, it's on me. If the answer's on anybody else,
gotcha.
The answer's on anybody else. That's the work you got to do. If the answer's, well, my mom, my dad, when I was a kid, and this happened and that happened, and I was assaulted and I was molested, which are the serious and legitimate things. These are the things we have to first heal from before we can move into our purpose, before we can move into our best lives. These are things that have us stuck. Now, as a community, we're stuck, but gotcha. We're saying the same thing, because as a community, we're stuck. But you and I are approaching this together as Black men to say we are the heads of our community. Right? We as Black men are the heads of our community.
Yeah.
And if we see ourselves as those heads of the community, it has to start with us. This October 16th is the 30th anniversary of the Million Man March. 30th anniversary.
Wow.
And so this book is written in the spirit of the Million Man March, right? With those principles, and to reconciliation, atonement, reparation, getting ourselves together, healing each other, supporting each other, healing ourselves, addressing our problems. It's in that spirit, which was a wonderful march. 1 million Black men getting together before the internet, right? This was 1995. And when you go back and you say, well, when Minister Farrakhan was speaking in 1995, and he referenced Martin Luther King in 1965 speaking, and we said, how far have we come in those 30 years? When you look at the statistics, you look at the average of salary compared to their other races. You look at incarceration compared to the other races. You look at all those statistics, family, marriage and divorce rates relative, and you say we hadn't gone anywhere from 1965 to 1995. And I dare to say, if you look from 1995 to now 2025, another 30 years, we still are not making the progress we need to make. We may even be taking some steps backwards, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. But then, then I think it boils down to kind of what you had mentioned. Don't you had mentioned kind of almost like a call to action in one of the other chapters, is that don't wait to lead. So my question was, do you feel that our men are waiting? And then kind of what does you talked about
I feel,
self leadership, because what does that mean,
yeah,
and how do
I feel
we?
they don't know how. I feel they don't know how.
Mm,
Yeah, I feel that they're trying and their best, but they don't know how. We haven't been taught. And listen, we are also attacked on a daily basis, right? We're targeted. Let's not just take it like we're incapable or bad or something. We're targeted on a regular basis to be complacent, right? To continue to work for others, to make them money, and then matter of fact, with the money we get, to buy all their products with the money we get, give it right back to them. And so we're in some really bad habits, and we're not seeing through the game, as you said earlier. We're not seeing through the game and saying, you know what, we're smarter than that. We've got to start programming ourselves and being very intentional and very deliberate with how to heal ourselves and then heal our community.
mm-hmm. So we're almost as if we are following, I guess, a script that's we're not exactly writing, I guess, in
And
for
this
lack of a
and this
better word.
goes back. This goes back, hundreds of years, Keith. This goes back hundreds of years, again. And so, but we're in a. But I want to be positive about this interview and this book, because I really
Yeah,
do think
absolutely.
that we just have to start a new movement. I think it's very, very possible. I think that we're at the cusp of a new understanding, because with the information age, with everything that's going on now, with people more on computers and with more realization, I think that you see consciousness raising. Right, you can feel
Hmm.
an energy
Yeah.
of raised consciousness, and so what we need is leadership to step up, ourselves as those leaders to step up. That we need everyone to take ownership and say, you know what, I can't heal the world, but I can heal myself, and I can learn and I can grow. And let's start waking up to a new way of thinking. Let's start to take advantage of all that God has given us. It starts with, it's very spiritual for me, really. And I
Hmm.
wasn't
Hmm.
raised as the most religious person in the world. I was
Okay.
raised Muslim. I attend Christian churches or Muslim mosques, either one. You know, I said, but spiritually, I've always felt very spiritual. And so again, a lot of this comes back to just let's go back to taking inventory of where we are and what we have. And this all starts with, God made you great. God made you
Mm-hmm.
unique and great and purposeful. And he gave us gifts that are just beyond our comprehension. We're all using such a small portion of our mental ability. We're none of us as a human race are even scratching the surface of our potential. And so when you realize that God made you, he made you great, he made you perfect, he gave you superpowers, right? I call one of the superpowers a supercomputer in your head that's capable of anything, and no one's got a better model than anybody else, right? It's like we're all you're Elon Musk or Oprah or Michael Jordan or anybody. We're all operating on the same iPhone 16, let's call it, right? I said the question is, we all got the same 2 arms, 2 legs, 24 hours in a day. So what's the difference? Why is one person making $100 a day, one person making 1,000, one person making 10,000? It's just the programming. It's just the
Mm-hmm.
programming. It's just the awareness level, the consciousness level.
Right.
And so we have the ability to, once we understand what God gave us, to figure
Mm-hmm.
out how to use that iPhone, figure out how to program ourselves, start turning off all the negative programming. What is our program? Our program is everything we listen to, everything we've heard, all our past experiences, right? Negative music, negative television. Your friends are saying negative. You can't do this. You can't do that. We live in a world bombarding us with negativity. And as African-American men, we're triple bombarded with that negativity, from
Right. Right.
stereotypical, images or whatever, right? So we're triple bombarded. And so we've all gotten beat down, beat down, beat down. We've forgotten what we were given. And that's the
Gotcha.
spiritual side.
Gotcha.
We've forgotten what God gave us. And we just have to tap into that. And once you realize that and you say, you know what, all that stuff in the past, all that negativity, I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to purge that. I'm going to say some healing affirmations. I'm going to get rid of all that negative stuff. And I'm going to start pouring in positive. I'm going to start listening to positive podcasts and reading positive books and learning and growing and building my spirituality. And I'm going to learn how to really blossom with this system by raising my consciousness, by raising my awareness. And it's like, I put it to, I'm an athletic guy, so I put it like sports, right? If you take
Right. Me too. Yeah.
and put them in a sports program, I say, how do you get to be an NBA or NFL? This is how many sit-ups we're doing every day. There's how many push-ups we're doing. There's how many wind sprints we're doing. There's how many squats we're doing. And we're going to eat right, and we're going to sleep right, and we're going to stay off of drugs and alcohol. There's a program. And this book, Ascend, is the program. It's a step-by-step program. And it's, guess what? Daily practice. It's daily practice, right? These things that get you there. You don't get there by reading the book one time. You don't get there by listening to the speech one time. You get there by taking control, taking that bull by the horns, taking control of your life, because guess who's in charge? You are. And when I ask the kids, I say, let me ask you a question. I said, who's in charge of your thoughts? And they go, I am. I said, well, who's in charge of your feelings, your emotions? Because you said he made you mad and she made you do this. And they go, well, I guess I am. I said, well, who's in charge of your actions? And they go, I am. I said, well, who's in charge of your results? And they go, I am. So wherever you are, wherever any of us are, good, bad, sideways, happy, not happy, you got you here. We all got ourselves where we are. And we're the only ones who can get ourselves out of where we are. So that's taking the bull by the horns by saying, hey, right. God made me this powerful, capable creature, this being, this energy source, right? This spirit. And I can turn all of those circumstances around, no matter how bad they are, no matter what I've been through. All that was yesterday in the past, I'm living in today. And by taking actions today, and by thinking the right way today, and by staying positive and saying my prayers and my affirmations and growing myself and learning and reading and not falling into the trap, that they're setting for us in terms of distracting us, in terms of getting our resources, in terms of dividing us. This is how we're going to win.
Right. And there is there a great message, by the way. And even with your strong family background, you had your brothers and also participate in the business, and your parents were clearly involved in your lives, even despite spending a majority of their time getting the business off the ground. But was there a time where even you had to take the messages that you're giving and kind of, I'm gonna say reprogram, but basically live to the message that you're trying to give these young people?
Sure. All of us go through ups and downs. All of us have highs and lows, and have had trauma experiences and negativity in our lives. All of us have. And so it's really that coming back to self and coming back to those to your highest self. So, when people argue about themselves, right, people have a very an image of themselves. I say one of the most important things is, how do you see yourself? How do you see yourself? And oftentimes I'll tell a young man, I'll say, listen, I'm going to introduce you to the most important person. It's really going to change your life around, really can make the difference in your life. And I walk him right in front of the mirror. So take a look at that guy. That guy's the guy. That guy. But you have to say, how do you look at yourself in the mirror every day and say, how do I see myself? Do I see myself as a king? Do I see myself as highly resourceful and capable and able, and I'm helping people and I'm serving and I'm God worthy and I'm living with good values? How do you see yourself? And how do you talk to yourself?
Right. Well, I guess when in your life, and you can just use a decade, what decade where you didn't see yourself the way you do now?
Yeah, I think it's very common for young people to have self-doubt, right? Everyone's trying to fit in. And so I would say those teenage years, right? You go to teenage
Okay.
years, you can go, I think teenage years are probably the toughest years for people in general. I think you're still finding yourself, you're still growing, you're developing. I think those are tough years. When you get to your more
No, well,
adult years,
no, but I mean for you, so the teenage years, your teenage years were the toughest.
yeah, I mean, I would say my teenage years in general as a decade were the toughest, but then you have, but also experiences. So,
Hmm.
whether you get a divorce, whether you lost your job, I mean, we all have certain moments where we're second guessing. We're second
Mm,
guessing ourselves, where we're feeling like a failure, where we're feeling like these.
okay.
But it's really, and you have to fall back on controlling those emotions. Those
Mm,
emotions are chosen, right? You have to understand that you're choosing your emotions. You don't just feel a certain way. Your process is what makes you feel a certain way. You can take things, as the worst thing never happened to you, or possibly the best thing never happened to you. You can look at things
right.
and say,
Right.
why me? And woe is me, and everything's falling apart. You can say, maybe God has a reason for that. Let me reflect and look a little deeper on that.
Right.
And
Right.
so,
And it.
so I remember being in college. I remember being in college, and there was a test I was taking, and I felt so much pressure. People have so much. I felt so much pressure for that test,
Mhm.
and I thought about it. And I said, what difference will this test make 10 years from now? Will I even remember it? So, why am I putting myself under this kind of pressure to feel like, you feel you're thinking dumb thoughts? So no, keep things in perspective. Control your mental state, control your emotional state. And so, but I always had, let me tell you this. My dad taught a course called SMI in the 70s. And this course, Success Motivation Institute, had
Mm,
many of these principles. He brought back these old cassette recorders, and he played these cassettes for us over and over and over. And this is a principle called space repetition. When you're conditioning your mind, it needs repetition. It needs repetition, just like doing those push-ups need repetition. You don't do push-ups one day and get stronger.
mm, mhm.
You do them day in, day out, day in, day out, right? So the same thing is that programming is spaced repetition. And so we would play these tapes,
Oh
and we
wow.
would get these messages from the 70s. So I always had that to fall back on. I knew that I could just, it's like now you tell a kid, listen, you can turn on YouTube or Google positivity, positive speech, positive motivation. How do
Hmm.
I? You can Google you learn to be an expert at Google and YouTube, and say, how do I stay out of depression? How do I overcome a job loss? How to stay positive despite losing a loved one. Listen, there are techniques. There are ways to stay positive if that's your focus. But if your focus is to go downward, it's very easy. We're all very
Hmm.
sensitive. We're all very sensitive mentally, physically.
Right.
We're all very sensitive. If I went upstairs in a dark room, watched a sad movie, and thought about everything bad in my life, hell, you go into depression real quick.
Yeah. Right.
But if hey,
Yeah.
you know what? Get up and go outside and walk in the sunshine and get some exercise and breathe some fresh air and call your mom and tell her you love her. Guess what? Day's going to be pretty good.
I
It's
wish I would have.
controlling.
I wish I would remember that test. Known that test thing. I ended up right thinking about that test and write my mom a letter. So it's funny stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, which is
We control all of these things ourselves. We are in control is the answer, and we can control this. And so, from a spiritual side, I'll say this. I have a saying that I say, and again, I can't say that I did this when I was younger. This is what I've come to as an older person. But one saying I say is, you'll learn more with your eyes closed than you ever will with your eyes open.
mm,
And people's like,
mm,
well, what the hell does that mean? And I say, well, when you open your eyes, you're in your conscious mind, right? You have your conscious mind, you have a subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is way more powerful than your conscious mind. But your conscious mind tells it, kind of programs it, tells it what to do.
right.
And so when you're sleeping at night, right, your mind is still working. Just like my dad said, son, when you go to sleep, does your heart stop? I said, no, Dad, still working. How about your lungs? Nope, still working. He said, well, guess what? So is your brain. Your brain's working, but not your conscious mind, your subconscious mind. And so the programming that is in your subconscious mind, all this stuff that's in your subconscious mind, you have to control, you have to program. Okay.
Mm,
And so before I go to bed at night, I'll turn on something positive. I'll turn on a meditation, or I'll do some visualization exercises. How do you see your day going tomorrow? How do you see your goals ahead of you, succeeding, making those goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I wake up in the morning, and when I wake up in the morning, before you're fully awake, this is when I do it. I guess you can meditate anytime, but I do it as soon as I wake up in the morning, and I just sit right up straight in the bed. Could be 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever time I pop up, and I would just take some deep breaths, and it's almost like that subconscious mind. I call it God speaking to you. It's like that subconscious mind is at work, and it will get you some wonderful ideas and some wonderful thoughts that you see. My theory is we're all born with this fantastic knowing, right? The connection to the universe was there the day you were born. And
Mm-hmm.
so,
Mm-hmm. Right.
this is the spiritual side where when you close your eyes, you actually tap into your better creative imagination, your better subconscious mind. You can tap into things through prayer, through talking down. It's like saying when you pray, you normally close your eyes, right? Why is that, right? It's a different knowing. When you open your eyes, you're caught up in the real world, and what does he think? And what
Gotcha.
does she think? What did he say? What
Right.
did she
Right.
say? So when you
Right.
spend some time just with your eyes closed, and you figure it out for yourself, whether you do like to do it in nature, do you like to do it like me first thing in the bed in the morning, do you like some little soft sounds playing, whatever, but spend some time, 30 minutes to an hour, whatever it is you have, just with your eyes closed, breathing, and see that, that knowing will come to you when you're calm, when you're still. And like I said,
Gotcha.
some of
Yeah.
these concepts might be old, might be, you get wiser as you get older. I don't know, but
Well,
it's just
I
powerful.
like
It's
that.
powerful.
Yeah, I like that because that's this, which was a kind of a question that I was going to ask. It's really the daily practices that you've used, one to stay grounded and create a positive mindset. And so, which is the thing about it is, like you said, it's a daily thing that you must do for yourself, and it can be whatever it needs to be for you. So I do like that. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And think of how
Um,
you spend your time, because, when I tell the young people, I say, you may say, for instance, how's your memory? Oh, my memory is not too good. I don't, I wasn't that good in school, or, can't remember people's names. And then they go right behind that and know the words to every rap song, sing 10 rap songs in
yeah,
a row, or they could recite, they could tell you the statistics of the 7 football games they watched this weekend. All my friends know every statistic of every NFL player. I was like, is that helping you to raise your family or make some more money,
right,
right? Or be
right.
more successful? How
Yep,
did you
yep.
spend your time? Did you spend 1 hour of that time working on your finances? Did you spend an hour working on your career or learning a new skill? No one taught us how to be lifelong learners and how to continue to grow and develop. We've gotten so comfortable, and the comfort is entertainment. We're living in America, man. Everybody's got an iPhone, everybody's got some Air Jordans and a Popeyes 3-piece dinner, and we're chilling. And you know what you get? You know what results you get when you're chilling? Chilling results. You're not
Yeah,
growing. You're not growing your community. You're not growing your resources. So how you spend your time, and don't forget, they're targeting us to spend our time that way.
mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
Advertisements
absolutely.
all day long of you got to do this, and you got to watch the game, and you got to keep up with the Joneses, and you got to buy this, and you got to buy that. And we're just, we're going. So, if people monitor how they spend their time and and what do they want out of life, and they can achieve their goals. But a big part of it is they have to believe it. And so many of us
Yeah.
have stopped dreaming. We've stopped dreaming our best dream.
Mm-hmm.
We've given up.
Right.
We say, well, oh, well, I mean, any of us, I'm not excluding myself. If you say, no matter how well you did last year, well, how come you don't make double? You didn't think of it. You don't think it's possible, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
People who got
one
divorced say, well, gosh, that didn't work for me. Maybe their marriage partner is waiting for them, but they're not going to try anymore because of that pain, because of that hurt. They've given up.
right.
We've given
Right.
up on our dreams. And again, that beat down. So we got to get back to believing. We got to get back to that God spirit of everything is possible, and I'm capable, and I'm worthy.
Yeah,
We can have more
and
than
you
we can ever.
mentioned something about gratitude as well. Um,
Yes.
and one of the quotes that you had in the book that your dad used to say is nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So, can you share a time when gratitude changed your perspective on a challenging situation?
Yeah. Gratitude changed my perspective. Yeah. Um, I would say that for me, gratitude has been such an important part of my journey. Um, it's just, to me, it's really just how you look at life. And so if I had to say a time when gratitude changed my story, I mean, I think it happens in the worst of times for me. So in the worst of times, let's say, for instance, my dad died. Okay. Clearly a super traumatic, terrible time, terrible thing, right? That's how we're taught to process it. But I looked at it and said, I am so thankful for my dad's life. I'm so thankful for the years I got to spend with him. I'm so thankful for the knowledge he shared with me.
Mm, right.
So I took that this is a negative experience, but my perspective, my attitude of gratitude doesn't make it a negative experience. And
Right.
and,
And
and everything in life
he was
could
such
be
a mainstay. Could have easily gone the other way.
and think of any major disappointment, any major tragedy. Sometimes and it's like, sometimes God is operating in a way that we don't understand, clearing a way for you. You lose one
Mm,
job, and you're going to get depressed and drunk and do whatever else, and he's got the better job waiting around the corner if you're ready to receive it.
yeah, yeah,
So this is the attitude of gratitude that we have to cultivate. We have to learn how to look at things. We're all so blessed and highly favored. How could we
right.
not have an attitude of gratitude? I tell my young people who I see who have, they come in with the problems and the complaints and the bitterness, and I say, you know what, we could go to the hospital, and when we go to the hospital, the first unit we're going to go to, I think, is the cancer unit. And when you see the people eaten up by the cancer, then after that, if you hadn't had enough, we'll go to the burn unit and see the people who are so horribly disfigured from burn, and then we'll go to the paraplegic unit. I said, when you get out of the hospital, you'll be so grateful. You'll say, you'll say, wow, what am I complaining about? It's all relative. It's all
Hmm, hmm.
perspective.
Right.
And by keeping this attitude of gratitude, we're always, moving in the right direction.
So yeah, and you've touched upon a lot of things. So if someone needed, let's I'm not say a crash course, if people needed to do kind of, let's say, 3 life hacks to kind of get unstuck, what would you say they would need to do? They could do at least to change their thinking, and before they actually read the book and really dive into the real work that they need to do.
Hmm. Well, I think the easiest thing I would say is, I'll just go to the first 3 chapters, right, of the book, is healing, affirmations, is building yourself up, healing, gratitude, affirmations, prayer. Everybody can read
Mhm.
affirmations. Everybody can say prayers, right?
Okay.
Everybody can be grateful. So these are 3 simple things that can really change your life. And when I say affirmations, I mean, you can look up affirmations. They're recorded affirmations on YouTube for different things. I'm writing a series of affirmations I'm going to record. But going back to that programming, see, when you're playing something over and over and over in your head, you're creating the new script. You're creating a new script in your head, and you play that at night, and it's reprogramming that subconscious mind. Okay, so
Mm.
if you're reading a healing affirmation, right? If you and then you go and you pray and you let it out, and you scream it out if you want, bring it up, and these are healing affirmations. There's an affirmation to build yourself up. So many of us, so many young men, they appear to have confidence, but they really have low self-esteem.
Mm.
So I said, there's nobody coming to give you a pat on the back. There's nobody coming to give you a hug except maybe me. I said, so, but you have to build yourself up. You have to give yourself a pat on the back. You got to say to yourself over and over, I'm worthy and God made me perfect and I'm great and I'm going to accomplish my goals and I can have anything I want. And you got to get it into your head, get into your subconscious mind till you believe it. Till you believe it.
Yeah.
Look yourself in those eyes. It's like when you go to the huddle, right? You're down 10 points in the huddle with a minute to play. What's the coach saying? He ain't saying we're gonna lose. Come on, guys, let's go. Let's get it together.
Right.
Hype. Build yourself up. Build yourself up every day. You got to build yourself up because the world's out there to try to tear you down. Right? You got to build
Every
yourself
day.
up
I like that every day because
every day.
you know,
Affirmations,
yeah, things
prayer,
can happen.
gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those are three
absolutely.
very simple things.
Affirmations, prayer, and gratitude. I love that. That's great, fantastic stuff. But one of the things I also, because I know you're writing a book, and I've written a book as well, but there was a study done. I just wanted to get your comment on this, but there's a study done by Sage, and it was on the state of Black male literacy. So it stated that the national data indicated that there's no state that had more than 19% of Black eighth grade males reading at a proficient level. Now, this was in 2018. Um, so I'm not sure what it is now. But my question was, since you wrote a book, what will be your strategy in order to get for healing to begin for the young people? Since most most of our young people don't read and read well.
Yes. Well, this is where the movement comes in because this book is
Okay.
not written just for the young men. The book is written for the old men, the grandfathers, the uncles, even the moms and the aunties. The book is written for everyone who cares about Black men.
Mm,
Okay. So we're the
okay.
role models. So we have to read the book and tighten up our game a little bit so that we can go
Okay.
back and teach them
And
and
pass
pass
it
it
down.
on. We know
Okay.
they're not going to go grab it from the bookstore and read it, right? But we're gonna read it with them. We're gonna take it to Black churches. We're gonna take it to schools. We're gonna take it to 100 Black men in mentoring programs. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
take this book, wherever I can take it where Black men are, and even I'm gonna even create a course out of it for the younger people, but also for a train the trainer course, so that we can scale this. I mean, so I call this the Black Ascension movement, right? The sort of like the what we had with the Million Man March. I call it the 25. As a matter of fact, I call it the 25 million man Black Ascension movement because there are about 25 million Black men in America we need to reach and need to be part of, and need this to be a brotherhood. Each one teach
Mm-hmm.
one, each one helping each other up. That's why you have the hands in the book pulling each other up. We've got to pull our brothers up. We've got to care enough, not just about ourselves, but about our brothers, and we've got to lift
Okay.
them up. It's up
Gotcha.
to us. And it's not thinking this stuff. It's not about me. I have no ego in this. This is about helping people, and we've all got to do it. And it's going to take all the. But I do believe I wrote it very intentionally for Black men, by Black men, to say that it starts with us.
Right.
We have to. It's iron sharpens iron. We have to be the starter of it. We can get help from the ladies who are doing all they can and all their best. We can get help from other races or other people
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that
Right.
will need as well, but it has to start with us. We have to be the driving force. Black men on Black men, the Black Ascension movement.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And have you have you how do you define success? And has that changed over time?
Yeah, I think it's definitely changed over time. I mean, I don't think I was that different than anyone else in our country. And when you're a young person and you're thinking of how much do you make or material things, you're thinking of some maybe you're thinking of being in good shape or looking good or feeling good or even having some amount of balance. But for me, it's gotten to be one of the life lessons that my dad taught was about the 8 areas of your life, right, and having balance in your life. And so when you look at he would say you take your life and you think it's like a round wheel, and they call it the wheel of life. This is an old adage. And you say
Mm-hmm.
you have your social life, you have your mental, your physical, your spiritual, your social. You've got your home and family life. You've got your career and professional life. You know, um, So these are all areas of your life. And when you have balance in your life with these areas, that's when you're truly successful. When you feel the best success. Because if you have all the money in the world and no family or no health, it's not doing you any good, right? And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I ask young people, I say, because one of the hardest questions that any of us can answer, and again, is what is it that you really want? If you just ask yourself and ask most people, what is it that you really want? Most people can't answer that very simple question.
Right.
And
That's
they may say,
interesting.
well,
Yeah,
they may
yeah.
say, well, I want $1 million. I want a new car, a new house. Okay, that's some material stuff. Okay. Other than that, what do if you had, what is it that you really want out of yourself, out of life? What is it that you really want? And this gets to the third tenet of the book. Other than success, it gets to some purpose, right? But most people just don't know what they want. And if you define what you want, and one reason why most people don't know what they want is because of the first couple of things we said. Number one, they don't believe in themselves and that it's possible. So another way to ask the question is, well, let me ask you this. If you could have whatever you wanted or do whatever you wanted, and you were guaranteed to be successful, removed all the obstacles, you were guaranteed success, then what would you do? And they go, oh, well, in that case, because they've shut themselves down so completely that
Well,
they won't even
I
get
also
to what they
I
want.
also think that some of the things that they see today, that where people are successful, is not necessarily wrapped up in purpose either. It's more wrapped in the, I guess, visual, or especially
Yeah,
like the TikTok stuff, or there's not necessarily a purpose to it. It's just that what they see, and then if they see they have so many followers or it went viral, then that's a successful thing, but not the purpose
not the
behind
purpose. Right.
of why
And
they're
so
doing it. Yeah.
that spiritual side of finding your purpose. And so I'll say, listen, God gave us all different, unique talents and abilities. He made us very unique. So even though we may have the same supercomputer, we're all very unique individuals. And I say, so what has God given you that you should use that's your purpose? You have to really explore yourself to find what unique talents and abilities you have and what your purpose is. That's really why we're here. That's really why young people in particular, that's their job as young people, is to just explore themselves, get to know themselves, get to
Right.
understand their talents, because so many people, their talents are going right to the grave. They've never even figured it out because of lack of exposure, right? Lack of
Right.
belief.
Right.
I said you could have a brilliant inventor. You could have a brilliant leader. I said, but they're so trapped in the trauma, the negativity, their environment, that they haven't even discovered their true potential, their true
Right.
talent.
Right.
And so spending time figuring that out. And there's an exercise I do with people. Sometimes I'll say, if you wanted to figure out your purpose, I say let's think about it. Right, write that down. What do I most want to accomplish? What do I think God's purpose is for me? What I want to accomplish on this earth? Maybe, and just say the next 10 years. You maybe have multiple purposes, right? But let's just say start with that and write down 20 things.
Right.
Just write down 20 things. Just write down 20 things that it could be. Write down 20 things, and you'll write 5. Oh yeah, definitely always wanted to do this, and again, imagine that there's no obstacles, that you were going to achieve it. And then you write down another 5, and the last ones would be harder to write, but just write down 20. And then you come up the next day, sleep on it a minute, and you come the next day and you'll start crossing them off. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And and you'll whittle it down, and all of a sudden 1 or 2 will jump off the page at you.
Right.
That's what I really want to do.
Right.
I've always been a creative. I've always been great with music or great with kids, or I've always had this. And why am I doing this? Why am I doing this job over here? When this is what I really wanted to do. Why did I give up
Right.
on this?
Right.
And it'll come to you. It will come to you.
And
Pray on it,
and
sleep on it. It will come to you.
the thing which is cool to know, because I know a lot of young people that I interact with think about the content creation thing as a pathway, and it's not the fact that it's content creation, it's the fact that they're being creative as the purpose. So a thing to consider. So I have a couple of more things. So in essence, with the book, or what legacy do you want to be able to leave with your work and this book?
So I've always been about work. I've been a hardworking man my whole life. And so I call all work service, right? I call it service, being
Mm,
of service, right? And so
okay.
I want to be of the most service that I can be. In other words, reaching my potential of service for God, for my family, for my community, right?
Okay.
And as a
Yep.
role model for younger people, for minority entrepreneurs. So it's really so service. And so, we're all here to serve, and everything provides service. Meaning, if you're a musician, if you're a rapper, if you're a basketball player, the more people listen to you, that's your audience. You don't make a dollar without your audience, right?
Right.
You have to. So
Right.
you're
Right.
providing a service,
Yeah.
entertainment, right? Whether you're a dancer, I mean, you have this gift for this, right? And you're providing a service. And one thing I tell the kids about service is, guess what? It just so happens. I'm not saying this in a selfish way, but it just so happens that the more service you give, the more money you make.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Absolutely.
why the concept of scaling comes in. So when
Yeah.
you make your content creation, I said, and guess what? It's easier than ever these days because you don't have to go hawk it on the corner. You've got the internet. You can sell it to the whole world. You can impact the whole world with whatever you do now. And so it's
Yeah.
easier than ever, to learn. It's easier than ever to grow. We just got to turn the heads on. We just got to turn them the belief on and say, wow, I can be that great person. I have a genius brain. I can learn anything. When you talked about the reading, it really hit me, hard, because these things are a matter of effort and belief. Anybody, I mean, we can learn anything. But if we have to spend the time, we have to care enough about it to say, let me read. Whenever I'm around kids, I make them read out loud to practice their reading. And what do I make them read? Positive stuff. So it's a double-edged sword. How do you
Yeah.
how do you
Yeah.
how do you teach, right? How do you teach them learning? So these things we're so capable of doing it. We're so capable of learning anything we want to learn, growing anything we want to grow. We just have to put the work in. And that's that daily
Hmm.
practice.
Right.
Go to
Right.
practice. Go to practice on your brain. Go to practice on your mind. Work on your talent. Work on, your God-given abilities.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really about
Okay.
inspiring these young people. So to your point about them not reading, to your point about how do we do it, it's inspire. We have to inspire them. We have to
Gotcha.
believe in them. We have to care about them enough to give them a hug, to pat them on the back, to make them feel good, and to say, "Hey, man, you can do this.
You can
You
do
can
it.
do
That's
this.
right.
Come on, let's read this book together. Let's read this Ascend together." As a matter of fact, not just yet, but I'm going to also make a mini version of the Ascend. I'm going to make a mini
Oh,
version of
okay.
it, so the young people will pick it up and read it. It's like an
The mini
accomplishment.
version. I hear you.
That's right.
I hear
That's
you.
right.
I hear
Because
you.
we have to
So,
reach them. We have to reach
yeah,
them.
we
We
have
have
to
to
reach
reach
them.
them. It's
Yeah,
our job.
absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, well, I mean, you could do a Twitch channel. So, or any other way to do it. So,
Yeah, no, that's very right, because they learn differently. And so
yeah.
and so if I need to train a trainer for a younger person, if we need to teach it to them, whether it's in a song, whether it's in a dance, let me just say this one thing. I don't think I got this point out because it wasn't any particular question that related to it. But we are all just energy, right? And so when
Hmm.
you think about from the smallest molecular level, and you'll hear about this in astrophysics or whatever, that we're all just from the smallest atom, everything's always moving, everything's always in motion. Okay, from the
Hmm.
smallest cell in our bodies to any
Right.
inanimate object, there's motion, right? So we are all a form of energy. And so when you think about energy, and you say, so so if I tell you, we're going to turn this TV channel from channel 4 to channel 5, from channel 5 to HBO, from HBO to Cinemax, we're changing the frequency, right? We're changing the
Mm,
frequency, a form of energy that's
right.
playing a different tune. So in our minds, we're all energy. We learn to control our energy. We learn to change our frequency. Okay, music is a frequency. And when you meet a person, you say, that guy gave me a bad vibe, a vibration,
Right.
vibrational frequency, right? We have intuition. We have these, again, superpowers really inside of us, that we have powers to do all kinds of things. We're just not in tune with it. So when we are praying, learning, meditating, growing, we're really raising our frequency, right? We're changing our own channel. We're saying, let's change this channel from $1,000 thinking to $1,000,000 thinking. Let's change it
Right.
from $1,000,000 thinking to $1,000,000,000 thinking. It's just a different frequency. And we all
Yeah.
have the ability to hit all of these frequencies with training, with getting to know ourselves. When just look at some rags to riches stories of people who've turned their whole lives around, people who came from the hood, people who had no father in their life, and then now they're on Wall Street or they're making movies or whatever. They were all capable. We're all so capable.
Yeah, they just
God
they
made it
just
that way.
changed their thinking, and they had
We just have
someone,
to.
and they might have had someone to help them, which is great, which is also an important aspect that
Yes,
poured into that frequency. Maybe they turned on the switch,
that's
or
right.
somehow altered their timeline. So that's very important, which
And
I
the
feel
thing
that's what
about
you're
it is,
trying to do.
yeah, just like I said, easy. Just like I said, it's so much easier. I said, you know what? You don't need $100,000 to go to Howard. You don't need $1,000,000 to go to Harvard. I said, every piece of information is in their back pocket on the
Well,
internet.
the colleges don't want to hear that, but that's all another
So
story.
if
Yeah,
you start to program
you
yourself,
know,
here's the information. What do you want to learn?
yeah, I'm
What
taking
do you
my
want to
son to
learn about?
school
How do you want to
in a
grow
couple of
yourself?
days, so we won't say that. But a couple more things. Last is on a different, shifting gears just a little bit. Ben's Chili Bowl, which has
Yeah,
been around 6 days. What would you say is the secret ingredient that makes it so good?
really community. That's the first word
Okay.
that comes off my tongue. We've always just been a part of this community, a part of our community, and people oriented. Mom is a very people oriented person, and so
Mm,
by focusing on, we focus on the people more than on the food, right? We have great food, we have great service, but we focus on the people. And Mom is there every day almost. And as a family, it's about that service, that experience. People talk about the guest experience. But when you come into
mm,
Ben's, hopefully you experience more than just the food. You get a bit of that history, you get a bit of the community, you get a bit of pride and whatnot. And so, mom's favorite saying is, people who love people are the luckiest people in the world. And, there are people who are different personalities. And some people say, well, I'm not a people person, or I stick to myself. I say, you know what? We don't survive without each other. We certainly don't thrive without each other.
mm.
Right. I said, so, we all need each other.
Right.
And we're all divinely connected to one another, right, through spirit. And so I say, so just being very people oriented, very people focused, very service oriented. How can we make you have a great experience? How can we bring a little sunshine into your day?
Okay.
You never know what people are dealing with. And people come to me all the time and say, your mom and dad treated me so nicely, and I didn't have anything, or if I didn't have food, they would feed me. When I was trying to do my homework, they would encourage me or give me $5 every time I got an A, or whatever it was. You hear so many stories about how they, in small gestures, poured
Right.
into people. And so
Through
one
the
thing I tell the kids is, I say, just it takes small gestures to make somebody's day,
through that big C
right?
in there. Love it. Love it.
Yeah,
Well, Ben, this has been fantastic. Um, Before we end, I have just another kind of surprise question. But before we end, give me the title of your book again. When is it going to launch, or ballpark, and when, and how will be able how will people be able to find it?
yeah. The book is called Ascend: The Black Man's Journey to Elevation, Success, and Purpose, and the book will be released in September. And you can go to ascendwithben.com or benalimotivation.com. There you go.
Great,
You have it.
great, fantastic. Right.
I appreciate you
So
having me on the show and
yes,
uplifting
yes.
the Black community.
Thank you. So I always try to end with this question. Most people don't know it's coming. But we're always doing so much for the community, our families, and this may not be for you, because I think you're pretty much grounded and do have the kind of blueprint of keeping elevating yourself. But I always ask it anyway. how are you feeling right now as a black man?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling positive. I'm feeling blessed. Got great friends, great family, and God gave us another day. Most importantly, God gave us another day. And whenever He gives us another day to live today, live in the moment, live your best life, live every day like it's your birthday. Not too much partying, but every day like it's
Yes,
your birthday.
yes. Well, that's great. God gives us another day. Well, thank you, Ben. This has really been great, and I know I've been away for a bit, but I was glad to come back and actually do this podcast with you. And it really, all everything that you said today really gives me a great perspective on what to think about, especially the things that I'm doing, and then everyone that's listening today. I think really got something out of this message. So thank you.
Thank you for making a difference, Keith. I always end mine with this. I always say, I'm Ben Ali and I believe in you. So I believe in you, Keith, and the difference that you're making.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Thank you. Hold on. So yeah, um, thank you for being on today. I really appreciate it. This is
Yeah,
Keith
man.
Dent from the Black Men Speak podcast, and I'll see you very soon.